Welcome to DBL. Happy Friday. We got Dr. Coley joining us on the panel today. Yes, we do. And we are going to get your take on medical stuff, but also we're just going to get your opinions. We need you to remove that doctor hat, and we want to see Pyle Coley come out.
Oh my gosh, that's so hard to do.
No, you need to. You're
so good
friends.
at it. You're us. You're with us.
So we are going to begin with a story that everyone's talking about, OJ Simpson's death. It has put a spotlight once again on the trial of the century, which got us thinking about what happened to some of the trial's key players, starting with OJ's defense team. OJ's lawyer, Johnny Cochran, passed away in 2005 from a brain tumor. And of course, he delivered one of the most famous lines from the trial. Watch.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Another lawyer from OJ's dream team, Robert Kardashian, died from cancer in 2003. His family, of course, has since found fame as reality stars. And after the trial, F. Lee Bailey spent time in jail for being in contempt of court in another case. He ended up surrendering his stock worth millions and filed for bankruptcy. He passed away in 2021. And finally, Robert Shapiro, he still is practicing law and has even represented Robert Kardashian's son, Rob. So what do we all think about the defense team and what happened to them? Do you remember all of this?
Every second. I mean, I was 13 years old, and I think what I remember the most, what struck me the most about it was the racial tension. Because when you're 13, you don't think about race, you don't think about how it affects your day-to-day life, but because so much of this was about race, it left sort of an impact on me, and it had just happened right after Rodney King. And so we had just come on the heels of another racially charged sort of public, news appearance. And so for me, that really stayed with me. And I never thought the same way about black versus white after OJ.
Binary. Yeah.
Right. Yep. Now, as for the prosecution, okay, you may be wondering, Marcia Clark, well, she resigned from the LA County DA's office and she wrote a book about the case and several crime novels. Christopher Darden also resigned from the DA's office after the trial and went on to write a memoir and has appeared on TV as a legal commentator. So what did you think about that, Tori? Did that surprise you that they both resigned?
No, I think this case was an ender for someone. I think it was when we talk trauma, I can't imagine what these people went through. I watched the Ryan Murphy People versus the United OJ Simpson, and you got to see what Marcia Clark went through. That moment when she gets her hair done and she comes in and everyone's like staring and laughing and she doesn't understand, and then everybody talked about her curls for the next 2 years. So highly traumatizing and highly illuminating about the really feminist, the misogynistic way that she was treated. I mean, she
was treated as a parody.
Horrifically, yeah.
I know.
Really bad.
Yes.
So.
Okay, and then Al, here's what happened to some of the key players in the courtroom. We remember Mark Furman, who was an LA police detective and a key witness for the prosecution until his history of using racist language came to light, okay? He retired from the force after that and now works for Fox News. As you remember, it was Judge Lance Ito's decision to allow cameras in the courtroom. He retired in 2015. Faye Resnick was Nicole's friend. She testified during the civil trial against OJ. She ended up writing a book about Nicole, and she's appeared on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And then finally, probably the most famous, Kato Kaelin. He became that famous house guest of OJ. He is now 65. He's appeared on reality shows like Celebrity, Big Brother. What do you think of them?
As I'm sitting here thinking about it, Sam, I don't think we give Judge Lance Ito enough credit for being really the genesis of what we know of, pop celebrity culture and social ethics coming together. Do you
think it was a good thing that they let the cameras in?
I think whether it was a good thing or a bad thing, if we're just looking at sketches, Kato Kaelin's not famous. These characters that literally became TV movies and real movies, and Celebrity Big Brother and all the spin-offs from that came from that one decision to let cameras into the courtroom. If he doesn't let cameras into the courtroom, is this even the landmark case of our lifetimes? What an interesting decision he made there.
I also think narratives would have really spun without the cameras being in there because, like you said, Dr. Coley, it was so fueled with racial tensions. Right. There needed to be transparency, in my opinion, in this case. So I'm glad he did it.
From a medical perspective, when we see something, it resonates differently than just reading about it because it activates a different part of our brain. So having the cameras in the courtroom, seeing that whole drama sort of unfold in front of us, it just hits in a different different part of
So true.
Can you guys imagine if we only heard about the gloves not fitting instead of seeing the gloves not fitting?
It would never have been the trial of the century.
Totally agree.
It would not have been.
Totally.
Okay, now as far as the Goldman family, and this is where we really should never lose I feel like we can talk so much about that trial, but this is what it's about. So they were awarded more than $30 million in the civil trial. They are now owed more than $100 million with interest and will work on collecting it from OJ's estate. Please, because you always say this and I want you to say it again.
Okay, so look, you can talk all you want about the fame and fortune and all of that of who was made and what. The Goldman family was the wheel that kept this justice rolling, and they did it with pain in their eyes and their hearts, and they never saw really anything. And they were like, please, these are innocent people that got killed, and it's become a circus.
But has it been justice, unfortunately?
No, but the wrongful death gave him, the father, at least some kind of comfort. And to not get any kind of payment from it, I hope they
And that's the sad part. I feel like the wrongful death, Sam, and we're dealing with this right now with Sandy Hook. I saw Alex Jones in Hawaii or whatever a couple scrolls ago on TMZ.
It's not criminal.
It is clearly an indictment on our court system and our financial system that we look at somebody that was making millions of dollars a month and all of a sudden they can file bankruptcy and you can't touch it.
It's not okay.
It just seems like the victims don't get their due due to like some financial chicanery.
Nicole Brown.
Yeah.
Let's remember the Goldmans. Ron Goldman, but to that point, that loss affected their families, their friends.
Absolutely.
So may we always remember them.
Remember and also give them their money.
Amen.
Yes.
And I will say, when you're coping with grief, I mean, the last stage of grief is acceptance. And that doesn't always happen unless you have the closure.
Right.
And that's where I feel like this was really sort of a tragedy.
So true.
Well said, yeah.
So true. OJ's death, speaking of which, he died from prostate cancer and has also drawn attention to this disease. So we wanted to ask Dr. Coley some questions about it. So
yeah,
please
this is near and dear to my heart. You know, my grandfather passed away from colon cancer. My dad had prostate cancer, but he technically passed from complications from diabetes. But it was an alarm bells for me. And so, you know, I was kind of told over and over again by my old primary, oh, you don't have to do it till you're 43, 44. And I was really pressing to the point where I did one of the at-home tests and did it myself and sent it. And then, like, I really pressed
For colon cancer, you mean?
For colon cancer initially, and then I went and got screened for prostate cancer and got a colonoscopy, all that good stuff. So, Doc, can you just tell me, is this a thing just with a black man? Why is the risk for prostate cancer, it seems like it's higher in us?
It is higher. Prostate cancer discriminates. It affects black men earlier in their life. It's more aggressive when it's in black men.
Whoa.
And there's a bigger delay between diagnosis and treatment in black men. And what that means is that you're 2 times as likely to die as a black man from prostate cancer than you are as a white man. And there's a whole host of reasons for this. Obviously, some is that the disease is just more aggressive, family history and such. But other is that there's a mistrust of the system. That people don't get screened early enough. We don't have black men in clinical trials. So we don't know and understand whether prostate cancer in black men is a different disease than it is in white men. And I really think the stigma around prostate cancer is also something that makes it, just like we were talking about menopause, it's something we don't talk about.
That's what, my question was about
Great point.
the stigma. Why is that? Is it just because of where it is and we're squeamish to talk about it? Because, like, in the break, I was actually asking Al questions that I am ignorant about with prostate cancer. I didn't know where they went and checked. I mean, I'm being honest here.
Right. That's a huge part of it. And you know, Al, as a black man, you should get screened earlier for prostate cancer than a white man. And because of your family history, if you've had something aggressive. But think about the prostate, right? When you're a man, it represents your sexuality, your virility, your strength. And people don't want to talk about something that might give you incontinence, something that might give you impotence, because they think it's almost like an old man's disease.
Yes.
And a young man having prostate cancer is not the conversation we want to have. And we've seen prominent men like, you know, our Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin. He didn't tell us that he had prostate cancer.
Another black man.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And then MLK's son, he just recently passed away from prostate cancer at the young age of 62. So unless we talk about it, it's not going to be something we can pick up early, especially in our young black men.
Well, thank you for bringing it
Dr.
up.
Coley called me young for the record.
That's what
And
he hung
handsome.
on to.